Today, we are breaking down the biggest winners and losers from college football week number 3. Let's jump into this, starting out with the superstars of the week. Our first, and not in any particular order, is Chris Brassel II, wide receiver out of Tennessee. This dude is absolutely monstrous at 6'5", 200 pounds, big deep threat, and ended up showing out this week. 6 targets, 6 receptions, 177 yards, and 3 touchdowns. This guy, I still don't really see him being NFL translatable, but I do think in a very similar way to Jalen Hyatt versus Alabama years ago, this was just definitely a dominant college performance. Very hard to go against him. I end up having Dream Fit there kind of for fun. Chris Brassel is not going to be part of the junior class or someone who could return. If I'm not mistaken, I mean, technically everybody can return. I know you guys asked me for the years. Time was a little tight today, but I've been working on this all week, and I want to at least get you guys the best players. I will talk to you guys about who is underclassmen, etc. But Chris Brassel, definitely a name that we've studied quite a bit. Going to be somebody who's going to be intriguing. For the Broncos, I just want Bo Nix to throw it more than 2 yards. Ahmad Hardy is next. This guy was absolutely dominant. Again, not in a particular order. So if you're like, why isn't Ahmad Hardy number 1? These are the superstars of the week. And there was a lot of very good play this week in football. So if there is somebody that was left out, please feel free to call it out. But Ahmad Hardy, running back from Missouri, underclassman. First off, love that. 21 carries, 249 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And on those 21 carries, he had 12 missed tackles forced. Ahmad Hardy, an absolute monster. And this wasn't versus like some no-name school. I mean, this is versus Louisiana, right? This is a very, I mean, not a good team, but a team that definitely will not be one that lets up 249 yards on 21 touches every single week. And Ahmad had one of those like beast quake runs that was absolutely phenomenal. If you guys have not checked it out, please feel free to do so. You will enjoy it yourself. But a name that we are absolutely going to be watching for future draft classes. Genesis Smith is next, a defensive back out of Arizona. We end up seeing Tacario Davis out. Genesis Smith, the safety, steps up and in. This week, he ended up having 88 defensive grade with a pressure, 4 defensive stops, was targeted 3 times, allowing 2 completions for only 4 yards. Here's the best part of all. 3 pass breakups. Fantastic job there. Arizona just knows how to churn out solid, quality college defensive backs. They've always been making it tough for the past couple of years. So good on them. Again, 6'2", 204, pretty solid build there. Now we have a very unique one. I forgot to put the Northwestern sign. You guys know me. The patent Alex video is always one graphical error. So there you go. You don't have a Northwestern badge on this one. But Northwestern's entire offensive line this past week versus Oregon, I mean, apart from the right tackle who got obliterated, literally the center, both the guards and the left tackle, Caleb Tiernan, who is pictured here, ended up having an 86 or higher pass blocking grade with 0 pressures allowed. That is phenomenal. I don't know what they did because Tiernan ended up having pressures in both of the games prior, but they did a fantastic job against a very tough team. Now let's talk about Mario Craver, wide receiver at Texas A&M. He's been on this list, if I'm not mistaken, 3 times now, but not into the superstar category. This guy's doing a fantastic job. The only reason I can't put him higher is because 165 pounds, but this past week, 12 targets, 7 receptions, 207 yards, and a touchdown, including one of the most awesome, pretty much making guys essentially look silly on the field there for a huge gain that he ended up being very popular for this past weekend. But a huge win for Texas A&M could not happen without Mario Craver. Great job by him. Leonard Moore, speaking of the same game, he ended up having a fantastic performance, had a 90 defensive grade, was targeted 5 times, allowing 1 reception for 11 yards, an interception, and 2 pass breakups. Leonard Moore is an underclassman, a true sophomore. This dude is unbelievable. I think he might be the best player in the country. He's up there. I mean, he has some mistakes in some games here and there, but on average, I mean, especially on the defensive side, there might not be a better player in all of college football. Like Leonard Moore challenges Caleb Downs. That's how good he is. And, he's at a technically a more volatile position where you can't be as much of a Swiss Army knife as Caleb Downs, but Leonard Moore is fantastic. I mean, not many guys that can get the best of him. Then let's talk about the Duke edges here. Vincent Anthony and Wesley Williams. Vincent Anthony is imaged here. But both of them had a phenomenal week this week versus Tulane. And 86 defensive grade for Vincent Anthony, 83 defensive grade for Wesley Williams. Both of them had a really solid outing in terms of pressures and stops. Vincent Anthony had 5 pressures and a stop with a forced fumble. This is coming after a recent week where he ended up making JC Davis look absolutely silly on multiple plays. So this guy is back-to-back weeks. And then Wesley Williams had a statistically better performance. We'll have to dive into the tape to understand why he got a worse grade. Might have been just the forced fumble issue, but 8 pressures and 4 stops, was targeted once, allowing a completion for 3 yards, but not really too worried about that. But regardless, I mean, the Duke Edges, both of them, I believe, are draft eligible, but again, to keep this list short and succinct, I want to see some consistency from Wesley Williams. Vincent Anthony, I would project him into the top 100 at this moment. He is on a meteoric rise. Let's talk about the normal stars of the week. And again, there's going to be 20 of these guys. It was a great week. But Taufik Bayard, defensive back out of Colorado, popped out of nowhere. There's a lot going wrong in Colorado. Bayard ends up looking like somebody who could be a big riser. 79 defensive grade, 2 pressures, 8 defensive stops. Targeted 4 times, allowing 3 completions for only 9 yards and getting a pass breakup. 8 defensive stops as a defensive back is awesome. Not maybe for the rest of your team, but at least he is at least doing his job. Jordan Seaton as well, one of the best offensive linemen in all of college. Pretty much it's the image of a Bugatti inside of the hood. That's kind of the way it is at Colorado right now. 91 pass blocking grade, 0 pressures allowed. Then shout out to our guy, Jace Brown, friend of the show. Has not come on the show, but he has supported it on Twitter. We do follow each other and have had our interactions. So shout out to him. Really nice guy. Wide receiver out of Kansas State. He is draft eligible. 12 targets, 6 receptions, 68 yards, 1 carry, 75 yards, and a touchdown. He did have a drop, but here's the best thing. His team passed for 88 yards. I'll repeat that. He ended up having 68 receiving yards. His team threw for 88. And then he also had a 75-yard touchdown run. So shout out to Jace Brown. Fantastic week there. Again, don't want to get that drop in there, but at the same time, that just would have made his percentage go up. So there you go. Bray Hubbard, man. This guy looked great. Honestly, defensive back out of Alabama. 92 defensive grade, 3 defensive stops, targeted 5 times, allowing 1 completion for 8 yards and 2 interceptions. My biggest thing about Bray Hubbard, I think the 2 interceptions were kind of inconsequential. It seemed more like bad quarterback play than him necessarily making a play. He kind of was just like there. The quarterback kind of threw it at him, in my opinion, both times. But the biggest thing that I love about Bray Hubbard, and this is not to take anything away from him, is the fact that he was an absolute monster in terms of big hits. Like, he was a punisher, and he also ended up securing some pretty big run plays that could have ended up going for much more yardage if he messed up. So did a fantastic job. Definitely somebody that I'm still looking at into that day 3 range. I have not graded him myself, but just based on what I saw, didn't see necessarily the coverage, but definitely more of the enforcer style, which I mean definitely has a role in the NFL if you find the right team. Ty Simpson, quarterback out of Alabama, slow start to the year, but this dude was electric. 29 throws, 24 completions, 382 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 1 big-time throw, 0 turnover plays. On top of that, he had 5 carries for 39 yards and 3 missed tackles forced. Ty Simpson just looked like a really good quarterback. And it's definitely a breath of fresh air, good mobility, pinpoint passer, like definitely something that we need to see at the next level. So, Ty Simpson, stock up. Got to keep our eyes on him because he had a slow start to the year, but the entire Bama team kind of did. Similar story to last year. I do think it's more coaching based than necessarily the skill of the team. Bryce, I can't say his name properly. Betcher, please feel free to correct me. Linebacker out of Oregon, 69 defensive grade, 3 defensive stops, targeted 2 times, allowing 2 completions for 1 yard, and then ended up getting an interception and a pass breakup. Really good job by the Oregon linebacker there. Obviously, one of those guys who's a little bit more underrated. I'm pretty sure everybody I've mentioned on this list outside of Jordan Seaton is draft eligible as well. De'Aaron Hill, though, is not. He's a true freshman running back out of Oregon, and this dude's been balling out. This past week, he had 5 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown with 2 missed tackles forced. And you might be like, that's kind of a fluke. Every single game he's had, I believe it's over 14 yards a carry. Like, he's played in every game, and he has been dominant every game. So, Ducks fans, let me know what you think of him. But 2028 draft class can't come soon enough. Really, really exciting talent there. And maybe another reason why guys like Mekhi Hughes are just not getting the touches is that they have ridiculous talent there. Reed Carrico, linebacker out of West Virginia, is next. He only had a 59 defensive grade, so I debated putting him on here, but he had 7 defensive pressures and 2 defensive stops, along with targeting 3 times, allowing 1 completion for 3 yards. Whenever you get 7 pressures, I'm going to put you on this list. Ty Edwards, running back out of West Virginia, breaks my heart that Pookie Bear, Jaheim White out, but Ty Edwards comes in and says, I don't give a fuck. He had 25 carries for 141 yards and 3 touchdowns with 8 missed tackles forced. Fantastic performance. And then we got to talk about Bishop Fitzgerald. This is going to be a small stretch of USC players, by the way, because this list continues. Defensive back out of USC, 89 defensive grade, targeted twice, allowing 1 completion for 31 yards and getting 2 interceptions. Very well done for Bishop Fitzgerald. I do not remember if he or Ty are draft eligible. But let's talk about some other defensive players from USC, Floyd Bouchard and Devin Tompkins. So I'm forgetting which one had the touchdown. There was like a thick 6, and it was beautiful. Like, it was a monster that ended up getting it. But both these guys were phenomenal. All right. So Floyd ended up having an 83 defensive grade with 6 pressures on only 17 pass rushing attempts and a defensive stop. Ridiculous conversion ratio of snaps to pressure rate. Like, that's an insane rate. And then Devin Tompkins, 74 defensive grade, a defensive stop, and 7 pressures as well. So really dangerous duo right there for USC, showing up big time. Then we got to talk about the Texas Tech edges, Romello Height and David Bailey. They ended up dominating this past week. David Bailey, 78 defensive grades, 6 pressures and 2 stops. Romello Height, who is someone who I thought was a really solid acquisition through the transfer portal. Obviously, I love David Bailey, so my opinion on that goes unsaid. But Romello Height, really good transfer pickup. He ended up having an 89 defensive grade with 6 pressures, a stop, and no completions on 1 target. So really good dynamic duo there for Texas Tech. That's why I ended up having him being a dark horse to actually make a strong push in the playoffs. So next we have Dre Norwood, cornerback out of Missouri. He had a 90 defensive grade, a defensive stop. He was targeted 5 times, allowing 1 completion for -1 yards and 2 pass breakups. Very, very good performance there for him. Obviously, I'm pretty sure Louisiana didn't even pass more than 10 yards or something like that. It was really piss poor. But regardless, still a fantastic performance, well worth mentioning. Then we have the Miami edges. So we got some groups in here. I almost grouped them all together. Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor. So Ruben Bain, 87 defensive grade, 5 pressures and 4 defensive stops. Akeem Mesidor, 6 pressures and 2 stops. Akeem's been a very, very good edge 2 there for Miami. And I think he's going to be a quality edge 3 to 4 in the NFL based on how he's been playing this year. So that's going to be well worth an early 4th round pick. If you want to take one in the late 3rd, that's usually the range where you're talking about that 3 to 4 range. So I think that makes a lot of sense. It'd be a good investment for teams, especially he is a little bit older. I believe he's a 6th-year senior, Akeem Mesidor. So maybe you want to push it to the 4th to the 5th range. But again, one of those guys that'll be a quality day 3 pick. Ruben Bain deserves to be in the top 5. Super young, unbelievably talented. Someone I bought into since day 1. Then we have, speaking of day 1, a new quarterback for Ole Miss comes in, Trinidad Chambliss, quarterback out of Ole Miss. 21 completions on 29 throws, 353 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, 2 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays, 16 carries, 58 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Fantastic performance versus Arkansas as well. Not a shabby team, a true SEC competition, and he ended up dominating. Really good job there for Trinidad. Then we got Corey Robinson, transfer from Georgia Tech to Arkansas. Same game, 0 pressures, 89 pass blocking grade, but he also looked good out in the open. There was a particular screenplay that he actually did a pretty damn good job on. So I like to see how Corey Robinson has continued to develop. One of those guys who consistently has been a very big PFF, pass blocking grade merchant over the past couple of years. Then we have a friend of the show, has not come on for an interview, but maybe we'll have to try to get him on for one. But definitely somebody I've kept in contact with and talked to quite a bit. Talik Lockett, guard out of Texas State. This was his biggest test versus Arizona State, and he ended up having his best game, 0 pressures and an 87 pass blocking grade. So shout out to my number 12 interior offensive lineman coming into the year. And then we have the last star of the week, Frederick Williams III, left tackle out of Cal. Ended up having a 91 pass blocking grade this week with 0 pressures allowed. Very few snaps so far. So we'll see if this is going to be a consistent thing. I don't believe he will be coming out. The rest of the guys I've talked about outside of Trinidad should be coming out in this coming draft. So we had the fun. Let's talk about the duds. And the biggest dud of the week, there's 2 of them, is starting out with Arch Manning, quarterback out of Texas. He did have 2 rushing touchdowns, but I mean, this is versus UTEP. This guy throws 11 completions on 25 throws, so under 50%. Has 114 yards, a touchdown, and a god-awful interception in the red zone. He had 0 big-time throws, 1 turnover-worthy play, 10 carries, 46 yards, those 2 touchdowns on the ground, but he also had a fumble. Texas beat UTEP by, I believe, 17 points. That's fucking embarrassing. And, Arch still is making some of the worst throws that I have ever seen. I don't know what happened. You see in that Mississippi State game last year, that he ended up having some really good mechanics, ended up having some anticipation. The placement was good. All of a sudden, this guy's trying to throw like he's prime Matt Stafford. And, I mean, the guy's looking like he's prime Johnny Manziel NFL variant. And it's just like, dude, stop trying to show off. And if you're not trying to show off, that's even scarier. Right? If you're trying to be cool and shit, where you're just trying to be nonchalant, not tell the defense where you're throwing, I get it. It's very tough to master that, right? That's why there's only a very few select people who have remotely the ability to do it. But if you are genuinely not trying to show off, and that is just kind of a strategy of yours to okay, I'm just going to no look throw it. We got to have a conversation, because this is not the first time this year that you're fucking shanking passes. Not missing, shanking, uncatchable. And it scares me. I'm not saying I'm out on Arch. I'm out on him this year, though. What the hell are you doing? Is this on purpose? It feels on purpose, because he had those moments where it's beautiful placement, beautiful mechanics. And it's what the hell? You see the Endries catch in week 1 in the 4th quarter. You're where is that? Why can't it be consistent? And that's going to be the big question of the year. It has nothing to do with whether Arch has the talent. It's where the hell did this inconsistency come from? Where did these lows pop from? Where is it? Because it wasn't there in the very small amount that we saw last year. And it's what happened over this past summer? Is it because we're now actually getting some tape on you, and then, teams can end up adjusting? I don't know. So really bad performance by Arch Manning. Again, 2 out of the 3 weeks, and one of them was versus UTEP. Very embarrassing. DJ Lagway obviously is going to be the other guy mentioned. By the way, Arch Manning no longer 5'9", so that was my graphical error last time. But DJ Lagway, he ended up still having some fantastic throws, just stupid decisions. 33 completions on 49 throws, which again, that's not the worst completion percentage in the world given the game he had. 287 yards, a touchdown, 5 interceptions. 3 touchdowns, 7 turnover-worthy plays, 6 rushes for 37 yards. Obviously, you can't excuse that. Now, people think DJ Lagway is a lost cause. That's definitely not how I perceive it. I don't understand. I don't like quarterbacks that continue getting into the mental, whirlpool where it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. You got to stop the downward spiral, right? But he is still young. Definitely somebody that, he, by definition, literally cannot come out this year, so he has to stay another year. We'll see what happens. But Lagway, that was a pretty bad performance. Nussmeier had his own really shitty throw where it was a penalty on the offense, and it was clear that the play was over, and throws an interception. It's all right, dude. Throw the ball away and then just take your L. But let's talk about the rest of the guys who had a tough week. Starting with Ricardo Hallman. This is a guy who I was kind of hoping to take a big step up. I was a bit lower on him last year, and then this summer I kind of had some hope with him. But, his losses are really, really bad, and popped up this week. 53 defensive grade, targeted 6 times, allowing 5 completions for 65 yards and a touchdown. Did get a pass breakup, so shout out to him on that. But at the same time, the rest of the tape, not so good. Caden Proctor, once again, looking like absolute butt cheeks. I really want him to grow and develop into something, because I love boss-ass offensive lineman, and he is specially built to be said boss. But 45 pass blocking grade and 2 pressures is just unacceptable. The rest of the offensive line actually did pretty solid from my recollection. Eli Holstein, quarterback out of Pitt. A lot of people got flustered with me not really being a huge fan of him at the start of the year. I'm not taking a victory lap because he does have a lot of potential. But I will say, when I saw him versus SMU, do look like dog shit. This past week did not look much better. 22 completions on 38 throws, nearly 50%. At 303 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Here's the kicker. 1 big-time throw, 4 turnover-worthy plays. On top of that, he had 8 carries for 19 yards and a touchdown, but he also had a fumble. So just not really like a poor decision making. Stepping up into a pocket that's like crashing back, that's like falling into him. I will say, not a huge fan of that. But at the same time, not again, if he was like really, really bad, like he was versus SMU, because I ended up kind of saying it's like one and the same. It's not. But that was a game that was really, really bad. Then we'd have legit questions. But this one definitely just makes you want to see a bit more consistency. Anthony Hakerson is next, running back out of Oregon State. This is a guy that I ended up seeing late into the draft process or late into the summer process, and really liked his tape. But he ended up having 11 carries for 11 yards and 0 missed tackles forced this past week. Noah Thomas from Georgia. This guy's going to be on this list every single week at this point. One of the dumbest decisions I've ever seen, one of the ones that I questioned this past offseason, which is why the hell would you transfer from Texas A&M to Georgia? It just would not, like, there's just too many dogs there, literally and metaphorically, Georgia Bulldogs. But, like, jokes aside, this guy just cannot get the reps. He's 14 reps on the field, zero catches on 1 target. This is a guy who I think has legit first-round potential. 6'5", 205 pounds, and he's dynamic as a receiver. Honestly, it is very, very frustrating to see the state of what Noah Thomas did. I thought it was a dumb decision at the time, ended up being an even dumber decision now in retrospect. Then we got Ernest Green as well. Got moved to right tackle, so you got to give him a little bit of slack, but he had a 20 pass blocking grade and 1 pressure allowed. Again, when I see tackles move from side to side, that's why I was a little bit worried when the Bears drafted Ozzie Trapilo as well. And that's why he's kind of struggling at left tackle. They say they like him at right tackle. That's all I'm saying. Stop thinking that tackles can just play left and right equally. That just doesn't happen, man. I don't understand this. NFL offensive line, and I guess now college ones as well. Stop with this fetish of believing that every offensive lineman can play every position. Sometimes guys are just built to play one, and they play it damn well. You don't get a Joe Alt every time. I mean, on a lower degree, you don't get a J.C. Latham either. It blows my mind. It really does. Like, what the hell are we doing here? Now, in certain situations, like where you end up having Monroe Freeling wanting to be your like star left tackle, and Ernest Green, I've had my issues with him being a tackle in general. Like, I understand, but I'm just saying, like, Troy Fondue ended up having like a bit better of a week this past week. But I mean, with Broderick Jones as well, we're like putting left tackles or right tackles. As a Steelers fan, I'm just like, what the hell? So, bigger topic: offensive line coaches, offensive coordinators, head coaches, GMs. I mean, of all people, I know that I don't have the right to like basically tell you how to do your job. But when y'all continue to fuck up by trying to think that every tackle can just play both sides. And you're just like, oh, I like him the most, I'm going to put him there. Where's the pattern recognition here, fellas? Like, where is it? Like, if you've seen, hey, this guy's played both sides, now you can start talking, right? But I mean, like, oh my God. It just... Anyways, there you go. There's your free extra rant in the video. Caleb Banks is next. First game back from injury. Not going to knock him too much, but 65 defensive grade. Did get a missed tackle and then nothing else. 0 tackles for loss or 0 pressures and then 0 defensive stops. So definitely not a fan of that. Christian Gray from Notre Dame, 39 defensive grade, worst on the team. 5 targets, 3 receptions, 48 yards. But the big kicker is 2 big penalties. So not a fan of that. Will Lee, cornerback at Texas A&M, is also there. 53 defensive grade, 2 defensive stops, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 102 yards, and a pass breakup. Still got the win, though. That's all I got to say. And last but not least, one more Texas A&M kid, Armaj Reed Adams, someone who I actually like quite a bit, but not as much as a consensus. 42 pass blocking grade, 3 pressures allowed. Whew. That was a long video. Thank you so much for loving me and supporting me the way you do. You guys are amazing. Thank you again. See you later. Peace.